All right, so this is the newest Michael Bay movie, Ambulance. I don't like Michael Bay, don't care for his movies, but whatever. Maybe this will be one of the ones that I think is good. I do think some of his movies are good, and there are some okay ones too. So I'll talk about that in a second. But Yahya Abdul-Mateen, he plays Will Sharp, and he used to be in the Marines, but he's out now, and his wife needs an experimental procedure, and he's calling around, but he can't get any insurance company to cover it because it's experimental. So he finally goes to his brother, his adopted brother, played by Jake Gyllenhaal, Danny Sharp, and he's a career criminal, and he's just happens to be on his way to actually do a heist right then and there. So he decides to join him. The heist goes badly, and the other, I don't think this is a spoiler, they're barely characters. The other people involved in that heist, they all get taken out. They're really generic and they mean nothing, so I don't even think that's that bad a thing to say in the video. They get attacked by a police officer and they end up shooting him and they leave him because they have no choice. But then that police officer gets picked up by an ambulance with Isa Gonzalez, her character, Cam Thompson's on it. And she's a really good EMT, but she's bad with people. She doesn't really care about the people she helps and things like that. It's just a job for her. It's kind of a character arc, but it's not really. So they take the ambulance and they are keeping her there to help keep the police officer alive, which keeps them from getting shot dead or run off the road or whatever by the police officers. But also it'll keep them from catching a charge for killing the police officer. So there are other people that they're involved with that are also involved in this and things like that. But for the most part, it's just them running away, and there are different plans that they do and things like that. But that's the main plot here. So I don't think this movie's good. I think it's pretty bad. I actually haven't seen that many reviews from it. I think I watched like one or two reviews. Uh, I think one was good, one was bad. But yeah, I didn't know exactly how bad this would be though. Like the writing is really bad. But let's get to the positives. Yahya Abdul-Mateen and Jake Gyllenhaal, they're great. And also Isa Gonzalez, she's pretty good too. They're actually too good for this. I actually don't even know why they're even in this, to be honest. Because yeah, this script is not good. But whatever, they give a good performance. If there's anything I can kind of get into, it's their brotherly relationship. The dialogue is awful, just all through the movie, especially between those two when they're arguing and things like that. But their performances actually do elevate it and actually get me to kind of like the characters and their dynamic. On a superficial level, the driving and the things that they do, it's fun, right? The cinematography is good, even though it's a little bit too much. He's way too into the whole like aerial drone shots and things like that. I mean, it's overindulgent, really. It's kind of like a little too showy and like he's trying to show off. But it is kind of exciting. It's kind of tense. And even though I wasn't invested in what's going on, by the end of it, the tensity of the situation kind of did get me. I was like, okay, what are they gonna do here? And I was kind of interested, at least a little bit by the end. That being said, like I said, this is written like garbage. So the whole premise of the thing, or the whole thing that gets things going, is that Yahya Abdul-Mateen's character Will, he's really, really trying to get this money for his wife, and she needs this, really, really needs this procedure, but the wife is completely fine. Like you would never know anything was wrong with her. Like the only time she really does much, or the only thing that she really does is she just holds the baby. That's it. But she looks perfectly fine. Almost like they could have just made it that they just really needed money because they have a new baby. And it's almost like that was in the original draft, where like they really just needed money because he can't get a job, even though they make emphasis like I fought for this country, I almost died for this country, and this country doesn't care about me. It's like, okay, you're trying to make some kind of commentary there with the way that veterans are treated in this country. And so he can't get a job, so they're struggling financially, and so that's why he goes to his brother. That would have made more sense, because you don't do anything with the wife's illness. I don't even know what her illness was. I think you can see a pill bottle with some with her medication, so maybe you could get it from that. But I mean, honestly, there might as well have not been anything wrong with her, like really, like legitimately. So automatically, like that, you lose investment in that, because it's like, wow, this guy, he's really at the end of his rope, and I'm really rooting for him to be able to do something, even though what he's doing is wrong. but you don't get that because of that. So there's that. Like I said, the other guys in the heist are really generic. There's one that's like, just a complete stereotype. My wife, why you gonna? He's on the phone with his wife. Why you gotta bust my balls? He's driving. Hey, what are you, a Mama Luke? I was like, dude, I cannot believe that this guy is this stereotypical. And then he's nothing really. And the other characters are the same thing. The jokes are lame. Where one of them has a beard, so Jake Gyllenhaal calls him Mel Gibson. It's like, okay. He's like, I love that movie, Braveheart. And I was like, okay, that's lame, lame. There's a really really thin character arc with Isaac Gonzalez, like I said, with where now she'll finally care about the people that she's taking care of. It's like, but with the thing with the little girl earlier, she seemed like she did care. So it really didn't mean anything anyway. And I had forgotten about the character arc by the time they kind of get to it at the end, which whatever. Uh, the movie is so like anyway, I'm not invested in what's happening anyway, but like it is really dumb the way that they do this. Like one of the characters with the FBI just happens to have a past with Danny. Danny and Will's father apparently was this really badass criminal, and apparently Danny's really badass too. They really big up his ass, even though the heist went bad almost immediately. Like that was really dumb. Like they don't really pay attention to the setup of this, where you don't get to see them planning the heist. Like usually you'd have a character come and be like, man, I really need this money or whatever. And he's like, hey man, we are kind of working on this job, this big job that's really going to get us a lot of money. It's another thing. Apparently you can carry $16 million in 2 bags. I'm pretty sure they only had 2 bags and he had $16 million. It's like, okay, but whatever. Usually you'd have him come to the person and be like, hey, I need this. And he's like, hey, I'm doing this job. And he's like, man, I don't really want to get back into that. And like, he turns him down or whatever. Then he goes back and maybe his wife passes out or whatever, has to go to the hospital. And and he really, really needs the money right then for the operation or the wife is going to die. And then he finally calls him up and he's like, you know what? I'm in, or something like that, right? Usually you do that to really set this up. Nope. He just walks in. I don't know what Jake Gyllenhaal does or who his boss is. He has to deliver flamingos at a certain point. I really didn't get the idea of what was going on there. But he just walks in and then they get into an argument and he's like, come on, man, I need you. I need you. I was like, well, you didn't need him before because you were already like, it's one thing for them to be planning the heist. They were literally on their way to do it. Like the guy was like, hey, we got something. We have to go do something right now. Like they were literally going to the heist because of the movie mainly being the stunts and things on in the ambulance. They spend no time writing anything that makes sense or anything with the heist, right? And as ridiculous as this movie is, they actually wanted to really seem like it's happening in the real world because there's points where characters are wearing masks. There's a part on where, like on the wall, Dr. Fauci is drawn. I'm pretty sure that was him. And I was like, this is no version of our real world. Stop with this bullshit. Like, this is so over the fucking top for no reason. It's like, it's so over dramatic. The cinematography, I mean, it's a good looking movie for the most part. It's kind of slick, but it does kind of overdo it with like, characters will get into these little, arguments, and then the movie will be cutting through the dialogue to where you're missing certain like parts of the sentence and things like that. It's just really overly edited. And then, the music is really cheesy as fuck at certain points and is overdone. Like I said, all those shots of, going around and up and down, everything. It's impressive up to a certain point. It gets old. I mean, the movie is stupid. Like I'm just saying, like, but like their dialogue is so fucking awful. The jokes, like, it's super over dramatic, and this is clearly a serious thing. But we got enough time for Jake Gyllenhaal to joke about the fact that he has herpes, and you know, it's ridiculous, man. Like, but the dialogue is so bad. I mean, when it's not really generic, it's like roll your eyes type shit. This is anyway. My main issue with this movie, though, all those things could be problems, and this has a fucking gang ton. But all those problems would probably be somewhat bearable for me if the movie wasn't so goddamn long. I mean, it's so long because they keep adding new characters and adding new elements to it and adding new stuff. And oh, this is our new plan to do whatever the fuck to try to get away, which obviously isn't going to work, or at least not fully work. But even though the ending I thought was pretty tense, and I was like, okay, I actually do want to know where this is going. By the end of it, when a certain thing happens and we're at like the resolution of what's going on, and we're really fighting the credits, it just takes forever to finally end. Like this movie, you barely wrote anything really. You barely really developed these characters. You barely really did much. Why is this movie over 2 hours long? Like I don't get it. I really don't get it. That was really pissing me off. There's no reason why this movie is this long, right? Like on a superficial level, you can enjoy it, the action and things like that. There's one part where there's an explosion, and then, some of the, I think some of the cars got exploded, or a car got exploded by them or something, and that was really cool. But there's another part with this car. I won't say exactly what happens, but it's a purple car pulls up to the line of cars, and like, yeah, we are in like really fictional territory at this point. At this point, but no, this happened in real life, man. They've got COVID and everything going on. Okay, if you say so. Whatever. That's all I got to talk about. Jake Gyllenhaal's great. Yahya Abdul-Mateen also great. Like most of the main characters of this are well acted, well performed, and all that. But there's just nothing to this, and it was really like annoying me because I'm like, man, wow, like you could have spent like any time on extra time on this script and had a better movie here, but we don't care about that. This is just about explosions and action, and this is just Michael Bay's normal shtick. I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's not as annoying as other movies he's made, but it's not good. It's pretty bad. On a superficial level, some of the action is cool, and there are some tense moments that I liked, and the performances were good. So I'll still give it a rental, but like that's mainly just like if you really really want to see it rented. I mean, in reality, it felt like it was a waste of time for me. But whatever. That's Ambulance, and we're done.